Welcome back, everyone, to 4 for 4 Football, where today we're going to talk about stacking. Stack it up. We certainly have to, and it can benefit us in fantasy football in either best ball or redraft. I'm Mike Randall. You can follow me on Twitter at RandallRent. Make sure to like and subscribe. Subscribe to the 4 for 4 YouTube channel for great content here as you get ready for redraft season, and hit that like button, of course. Stacking. We have to do it. Now, why do we have to do it? Because it eliminates variables. I was thinking about this the other day. My wife and I had water damage in our kitchen, water dripping down the walls. So we have to redo the kitchen now. Why is this such a stressful thing? And my wife and I are going crazy because there's too many variables. There's the subfloor. There's the new floor. You got to take the fridge out. There are the cabinets, the colors, the handles. It's too many variables. That's what we want to do with stacking. We want to eliminate the possibilities and try to streamline our best chance of winning. Now, listen, stacking, we need to remember three things. Number one, what do we know? We know nothing. We're projecting. We're making guesses as to how an event is going to happen, how fantasy football is going to go this year, and we don't know. Is Christian McCaffrey going to get hurt? How's the Titans offense going to be without A.J. Brown and Julio Jones? These are things that are uncertain. Is Devontae Adams going to match expectations with his new team? We don't know. So since we don't know, we want to try to eliminate the possibilities. You've heard the phrase that you can't win the fantasy title in your first couple picks, but you certainly can lose it. When you make your first couple picks, folks, you're cementing your belief that those players are going to have big seasons. If you take Christian McCaffrey first, you think he's going to stay healthy for majority of the year and have a big season. So when you pick a wide receiver or a quarterback or a pass catching back early, you're saying that you think they're going to have a big season. So if they're going to have a big season, why wouldn't you want the person who is tethered to them? Best example last year, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp. Matthew Stafford, second in the NFL in passing touchdowns with 41. Cooper Kupp, a 31.5% target share, number one among all wide receivers. If you had both of those players, you probably did well. And the last reason we like stacking is, as I mentioned, eliminate the variables. If you draft a wide receiver in round one and you draft a different quarterback, especially in best ball, then you have to be right twice. You have to be right on the wide receiver and right on the quarterback. People love parlays in betting, but why are parlays a negative EV play? Because you have to get multiple bets right. The greatest gamblers in the world are hitting 56% of their bets, roughly. So they're looking to be right 56 out of 100 times, which means they're going to be wrong roughly once out of every three, once out of every two times. So we don't want to have to be right multiple times because we are projecting. Let's eliminate the variables. That being said, there's your crash course on stacking. Let's get into my favorite stacks this year. Now, look, couple that are obvious that I'm not going to mention. I love the Bills offense. We want a piece of the Bills offense. You're going to have to take Stefon Diggs early, which I like doing because you want exposure. But that offense is not one I'm going to talk about today. And you know from the last video that I did, I love Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, consolidated target share. That's another one as well. But I'm going to talk about four here that I think you should consider. First one, Denver. I made Russell Wilson my 101 in Scott Fishbowl. Now that's super flex, and I'm not looking back. He's been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL while playing for Seattle. Student body left, student body right. Now he's going to lose those handcuffs, and he's going to go to a better offense here with Nathaniel Hackett. He should be allowed to pass more. He should be able to keep that efficiency, and he's got a great receiving core. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, reliable Tim Patrick, and even speedster KJ Hamler. They even have quality tight ends, Albert Okui-Boom and Greg Dulcich from UCLA, which they spent a third-round pick on. Wilson is freed, and most importantly, he's in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Even Derek Carr, who we'll get to in a little bit. The AFC West is a fantasy land of opportunity this year. Wilson is currently going as the QB8. He's available around 6 or 7. He's after Jalen Hurts, and he's barely ahead of Trey Lance, who hasn't even been a starting quarterback in the NFL for a full season. Wilson, only 33 years old, and Denver has the 5th best schedule for fantasy quarterbacks weeks 14 to 17, and the 2nd best for wide receivers. Now, who do you stack with? I've always gone with Cortland Sutton. He's 6'4", 218. He has a huge target radius that he can get the ball in the end zone, and Wilson will be able to take advantage. He had a 72 catch, over 1,100-yard receiving season while playing with subpar quarterbacks. I like Sutton. You can go with Jerry Jeudy as well, who's fallen behind Sutton a little bit. I liked earlier in the season you could actually get Jeudy ahead of Sutton and get Sutton after Judy if you needed to. I prefer Sutton, but you could also go with Jerry Judy, and I like throwing in a reliable receiver like Tim Patrick, who's posting 50 catch seasons consecutively, 5 and 6 touchdowns. Again, Patrick, a tireless worker, someone who's 6'4" and is a great target in the end zone. So my first stack for best ball or redraft, I am going with the Denver Broncos. Grab Wilson. You take your choice between Sutton or Judy, and you can even grab KJ Hamler late or Tim Patrick. Totally up to you. Next one, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys. This one may seem easy, yet I'm not seeing it happen as much as I would like. You can stack running backs with your quarterback. It doesn't have to always be receivers or tight end. You have to get maximum upside, and when you have a pass-catching back, which Dallas certainly does, that is something to look at. When Dak Prescott is healthy, this offense rolls. Last year, number 1 with 30.4 points per game as a team, Dallas, and was 6th in 2019. And they were the number 1 offense in the NFL by far in terms of points per game for the 5 games before Prescott got hurt in 2020. So we have a harder schedule this year because Dallas is coming into this year after going 12-5 in the NFC East, whereas the prior year they were entering going 6-10. That means closer games. That means more shootouts. There's no Amari Cooper, so I don't have to tell you to draft CeeDee Lamb. 2 years in the league for CeeDee Lamb, over 1,000 yards, 76.5 reception average over those first 2 years while playing behind Cooper. The road is clear. He is the absolute alpha. You remember he can do big plays like against the Patriots in overtime last year. And I mean clear alpha receiver. But outside of Lamb, who is the second option? I would take a serious look at Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard can catch passes out of the backfield. And what I love about Pollard is he's increased over 3 consecutive years his receptions from 15 to 28 to 32. His targets have gone up 20, 40, 46. And his receiving yards have gone 107, 192, and last year 337. He certainly is someone who has overall top 12 running back upside if Ezekiel Elliott gets hurt. And I do think he can play the Alvin Kamara role in this offense. Why? Because who's the clear second option? Michael Gallup, unlikely to be ready for the start of the year. Rookie Jalen Tolbert, still a rookie. James Washington coming over from Pittsburgh. Noah Brown. The only other option you could stack here is tight end Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz has the 4th most fantasy points among tight ends since 2020, and that despite catching passes from 5 different quarterbacks. If you look at most fantasy points since 2020, it's Kelsey, it's Mark Andrews, it's Darren Waller, and it's Dalton Schultz. So my options here for Dallas, which is a team you definitely want exposure to, you can grab Prescott late. He's fallen to QB 11, so he's a guy you can select. You can usually get him after Pollard. Grab CeeDee Lamb early, and I like choosing between Pollard and Dalton Schultz, and you have yourself a nice stack that is certainly something you can use and rely on throughout the season for a Dallas team that projects to be in even a lot more shootouts and a proven track record of points with offensive coordinator Kellen Moore and Prescott. Now, the key to getting to a good stack is that it has to be gettable, meaning that you have to have ADPs that work. So my last 2 stacks here, you can use in best ball or redraft, and they're very gettable. First one, Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. This one I put a notch below the others that I mentioned only because of the unknown passing volume with Hurts. Is he going to take a step forward? Is he the QB of the Eagles' future? Little uncertain. He may be, but there is some doubt, and with doubt comes opportunity. What is certain with Philadelphia? Their offensive line. Our Justin Edwards here, 4 for 4. Philadelphia's offensive line, number 1 entering the 2022 season. And you saw Miles Sanders laughing at himself that he's not the guy to get for fantasy because he doesn't get those high quality, as Rich Rebar would say, high cholesterol targets and carries. So this is an offense that is open. You have the Konami code quarterback in Hurts, and you have either A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith. Dallas Goedert is also available in rounds 8 or 9 on Underdog Fantasy. For wide receiver, I'm going with Devonta Smith because of cost. A.J. Brown's going the end of round 2, early round 3. Little high for my liking given the uncertainty, but Smith's at wide receiver 35, sandwiched between right now Elijah Moore and DeAndre Hopkins, who's out for 6 games on Underdog. Smith is the value. If you want another option, you can go with Dallas Goedert, who very quietly had the most receiving yards of his 4-year career last year with 830, and Hurts his first year as quarterback. At the tight end position, where that production is very scarce, I like Goddard. He could easily be a top 4 fantasy tight end, and he's carrying a tight end 8 or tight end 9 value. You're in the NFC East. You have the Cowboys with a defense that benefited from a lot of turnovers last year, so there's going to be some regression. You have the Giants. You have Washington. I love a Philadelphia stack because you can get it late. Goddard or Smith in a stack with a running quarterback like Jalen Hurts. Now, my only caveat with this stack, be careful, is that the Eagles have a great start to the fantasy season. They have one of the most favorable schedules, weeks 1 to 5 for quarterbacks and wide receivers. It's a phenomenal schedule, but they have a brutal end of the year with one of the worst schedules for fantasy quarterbacks and tight ends for those critical weeks 14 to 17, which are the playoffs. So just be leery of that, but it's another one I like. And finally, the last one, let's go to Las Vegas with the Raiders. I love stacks with cheap quarterbacks, and that's what we have here with the Raiders. Derek Carr is very late in drafts. Please remember 3 things with a Raiders stack. Number 1, Las Vegas defense. Are they going to slow Kansas City, the Chargers, and the Broncos with Russell Wilson when they have to see them for 6 games? I don't think so. So this offense has to put up points. Number 2, Josh McDaniels comes over from the Patriots, and he has guided a top 8 offense in scoring in 12 of his 13 seasons as Patriots offensive coordinator. I get it. You're going to tell me he had Tom Brady. That's fair. But he didn't have the offensive weapons that the Raiders had this year, so that should balance out a little bit. And finally, you have an accurate quarterback in Derek Carr. You want to pick a later round quarterback. Here's a guy who's thrown over 4,800 yards last year, usually protects the football and limits turnovers because in 2 of his 3 years, he threw single-digit interceptions over the last 3 years twice, and he's always around 70% completion percentage. So similar to Buffalo with Stephon Diggs, who I like, you're going to have to grab Devontae Adams early, and that sets this stack in motion. Adams is going as wide receiver 5 back in round 1. So if you have a late round 1 pick, either in redraft or best ball, you can grab Adams. He's always been able to produce. He doesn't have Aaron Rodgers, but he's also going to have less attention because of the multitude of receiving weapons, which the Packers did not have. So he still should be fine getting open. And with an accurate quarterback like Carr, that is a perfect connection, especially back to their Fresno State days. He gets a break. He's playing alongside Darren Waller and reliable slot receiver Hunter Renfrow and veteran Keelan Cole. So there are weapons here. This offense also for a running back doesn't have a true 3-down workhorse. No matter what John Gruden you say about Josh Jacobs, he isn't that guy. So you have to choose whether you're going to take Adams or Waller because both are going early. You make your choice. And then if you wanted to add one more player, you could take Renfrow or even running back Kenyon Drake, who's sort of a lesser version of Tony Pollard that we talked about, and McDaniel should be able to use him. Renfrow, don't forget last year, 103 receptions and over 1,000 yards before signing his big contract. We all want the production, folks, from Buffalo, Dallas, and Kansas City. But with this Raiders stack, there is sneaky, unspoken value because you can get Carr late, and they're in a division that they're going to have to score. Those are my favorite 4 stacks to look at. Don't forget about Denver, Dallas. You have a multitude of options, especially with Tony Pollard. You can go with Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts and take your pick. And then, of course, we'll finish it up with the Raiders, Derek Carr, late-round quarterback. You can do some of this for redraft, but it's especially good for best ball, and you can make your picks and get ready for the fantasy season. If you plant your flag early on a part of a stack, don't forget to back it up. You've already made your claim. Double down and believe in your research. This is Mike Randall for 4for4 talking stacks for redraft and best ball.